So this is the Surface Pro 7. I've had it for about a year now, and I just wanted to quickly go over my thoughts and my experience having used it for the past year. So one of the reasons I also bought this was to help me with game development, but personally that has been a big fail. I haven't actually developed any games in the past year, and the stylus was supposed to help me with creating my own art. That was also a fail. So you'll have to excuse me in that I cannot really say much about the pen and using it in that department, but maybe 2021 will be the year, maybe. So as far as note-taking and drawing is concerned, it's not my go-to for that just because it's a little bit heavier for my weak little arms, and I just tend to leave it where it is, mostly sitting there. The battery life isn't going to last all day. I think 4 to 5 hours most if you're using screen time. So like I said, I bought this about a year ago and I've had it for about a little bit over a year. I bought it mainly as an auxiliary device for my commute, mainly to help me with some game programming or other development on the go as I did it on the train, which was about an hour-long commute. So the device gave me something to do that was productive, and I could do it on a personal computer. The thing that attracted me about this is that it is really light and portable, and I could bring my work computer and also this computer at the same time without weighing me down on my commute. So things didn't actually work out that way. First thing was there was this little pandemic that kind of shut down the world, so there was no commuting for me for pretty much the entire year. So pretty much portability and packability, lightweight, all that kind of went out the window the past year. So things kind of changed up a little bit. So I just want to go over how I use it now, since it's not actually how I intended to use it previously. Number one, because this is an auxiliary machine, meaning it's not my main computer, it doesn't have as much usage for me as I thought it would, because number one, I already have a computer at home. Number two, I'm staying at home pretty much all the time. So that means I don't actually need the portability that this computer provides. So what do I use it for? Well, what I ended up using this for was setting it up as my auxiliary workstation, where I have a kind of a stand-up desk situation going on here. I have a workstation downstairs where I actually do most of my work, but every so often I come upstairs and work at the standing desk because it's good to get movement around, you know. So what I ended up doing was getting a wireless keyboard, Bluetooth, a Bluetooth mouse, and a dock with an external display. So what I end up doing is I pretty much remove the type cover and connect the USB-C port here. It's connected to Ethernet, it's connected to the external display, and it's also connected to a USB-C power delivery cable here. So I have charging, external display, as well as wired Ethernet coming in from this hub, which allows me to do my work pretty quickly by just plugging in the one connection and I'm ready to go. So pretty much everything here is kind of ready to get working. What I end up doing to sync my files is that I actually SSH into the computer downstairs from this terminal, and I have some file shares through a NAS, so I can share my files pretty quickly from the actual work computer to this computer. So what that allows me to do is just come up here and my workstation and my workspace is pretty much replicated from what's downstairs. However, there are things that I do notice when using this machine. Number one, the fan does kick in fairly early when doing things like watching YouTube or any graphics intensive applications like gaming. So the fan is fairly noticeable. You'll definitely hear a like a whoosh sound on there. Generally, if you're not doing anything, it doesn't make this noise, but Windows is updating in the background, so yeah, that can be a little noisy. If I'm wearing my headphones, it's not noticeable over something like over-the-ear headphones. So temperature-wise, the machine does get fairly hot. I looked up CPU ID in the temperature sensors and I noticed that it gets up to 50 Celsius on the chassis itself. The CPU can actually get up to 90 degrees Celsius, which is really hot during intensive applications like gaming. Gaming-wise, the built-in graphics card isn't really great, so I usually play games at lower settings. Fortnite had to be like throttled way down to low settings in order for it to be playable. You can play some of the older, less CPU and graphics intensive games, so it's good for that. You can probably hear the fan kick in now. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I have Steam running, but I don't have actually any applications running, so let me see. I guess it's installing an update, so even though the chassis does get pretty warm, the way that the machine is built with the kickstand, it actually doesn't transfer onto your lap if you're using it as a laptop on your lap. Work-wise, it's plenty powerful enough for me to run a couple of virtual machines, but I mostly use it to program things like Python, Java, and JavaScript using the Java-based IDE from IDEA. So mostly I run virtual machines either with Kubernetes or Docker, and I develop using Java and Python. I use WSL2 to run the Linux environments, so it's really useful that way as a developer. So in conclusion, I would probably buy this machine again if I had to make the decision, even knowing that there was a pandemic at the time. Eventually things will open up, right? And that means portability will be something that is a factor again. But for now, I'm hedging my bets in that this will be useful as a portable machine in the future. So the battery life also doesn't quite last long enough to be used as an all-day note-taking device for me. I mean, you can stretch it by having it auto turn off, but it's not as convenient as something like an iPad, which is always on. So as far as note-taking, I'm pretty sure it's very possible, but I just don't use it mostly because it's sitting on my desk, plugged in all the time. Rarely leaves it just because I have way too many devices that do pretty much a lot of the same things. So as an actual computer, I would totally buy it again. It gets the job done when it comes to programming, when it comes to doing any software development work. No complaints there. It's pretty much as good as the MacBook Pro that I have right now. So yeah, as a portable computer that gets real work done, I would totally recommend this after a year of usage. Bye.